The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Tournament of Everything Scouting Report, where we take one competitor from all of Infinity and compare them against themselves.
That's right. In the big bag of infinity, sometimes one thing will just slip on out. And so we've got to wrangle it, take a good look at it, figure out what it is, and then shove it right back in there until it's time to show up and compete in the ultimate tournament of everything on a Tuesday or a Thursday. But on every other day, we do this. So, Rob, why don't you tell us who we will be returning to that bag, but learning about beforehand tonight?
Well, since this is every other day, we will be learning about just the siege of Golconda, which occurred in January 1687 when the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb led his forces to besiege the Qit Shah dynasty at the Golconda fort.
This was a very significant occurrence, it seems. The siege of Golconda lasted for 8 months, and on various occasions, it pushed the massive Mughal army to its very limits. The Golconda fort was considered to be an impregnable fort on the Indian subcontinent.
Well, seemed, but it actually wasn't, because at the end of that siege, Aurangzeb and the Mughals entered Golconda in a very decisive victory.
So let's jump right into the siege. At the Shab ruler of Golconda, who's also named here, refused to surrender to the Mughals. He and his servicemen fortified themselves within the fort and fiercely protected a mine, which was at that point one of the world's only diamond mines.
Now, his most experienced commander actually defected to the Mughals. Probably not helpful. They had constructed massive fortifications throughout the successive generations on a granite hill over 400 feet high with an enormous 8-mile wall enclosing the city. The main gates of Golconda had the ability to repulse any war elephant attack, as they had iron spikes on the gates to damage the advancing elephants.
Yeah, and elephants are pretty good war tools, but they're not quite as good as we would find out later in history as cannons. So it seems as though a whole bunch of cannons surrounded the place, and about 100 of them began siege operations. Not only were they attacked by cannon fodder, cannon fire, rather. I guess they were the fodder. They were also subject to heavy rains and over flooding, which created a scarcity of food supplies and became a dire complication.
Now, while the wall did stand strong throughout most of this, what beat it was a ladder. Now, although they maintained impregnable efforts defending the wall, at night, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and his infantry assembled and erected complex scaffolding that allowed them to scale the high walls. He then ordered his men to throw grenades while scaling the fortified wall, and those were reinforced with other weaponry. Now, while most of these attacks remained largely unsuccessful, they did manage to demoralize the defenders of the fort, and the 8-month siege eventually came to an end.
It truly did. And the aftermath of which was when Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and his army managed to penetrate the walls by capturing the gate, prompting Kutshabis of Golconda and the ruler Abul Hassan Qit Shah to surrender, as it says here, peacefully, but I haven't heard a lot about peace so far. They handed over what's known as the Nur-Ui-Ain diamond. It's one of the largest pink diamonds in the world and the centerpiece of the tiara by the same name.
So they found apparently a back door into the fort that they hadn't found, and that's what allowed them to sneak in and then run up and capture this man by surprise.
He must have been pretty surprised, as are we every single day as we randomly generate these pieces of infinity and bring them to you, whether peacefully, as it states that this siege was concluded, though it doesn't really sound like it, or in conflict, as is more representative of this article on our Tuesdays and Thursdays, where we have 9 rounds, each pitting off 2 pieces of infinity against one another to see who will emerge victorious.
That's right. Every other day of the week, we have scouting reports just like this one, where we compare all of Infinity's finest competitors against nothing but themselves.
Too true, too true. So make sure your back door is locked, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode of
The ultimate turkey jump ever.